little cool here from Safeco Field, but a beautiful night nevertheless as the Mariners continue this nice lengthy homestand. They welcome in the Angels of Anaheim here to gorgeous Safeco Field. It's game one of this 3-game series, and what a pitching matchup we have in store for you tonight. Taijuan Walker against Garrett Richards. Glad you could join us. Mariners baseball on Root Sports as the Mariners have taken the field. And Mike, have a look at the Angels starting lineup.
For manager Mike Scioscia leading off Cole Calhoun. Then it's Mike Trout, 292 for Mike against Walker. 4 for 5 with the home run. Pujols, Murphy, Crone, Ibar, Freeze, Perez, and Featherston round out the 9 for the Angels.
Taijuan Walker all set to go, and he comes in a little bit high with a fastball to get things underway tonight. Calhoun has long been the leadoff man this season for the Angels. Their right fielder.
And he's really had a good year for him. If you look, 23 home runs, 75 RBIs out of the leadoff spot.
A power number really jumps out at you, the homers.
Yeah, the home runs do. And I think typically, if you look at Mike Scioscia's lineup, I think if he had some guys that were more traditional leadoff guys, you'd see him hit more in the middle of the lineup. But the way he has it set up right now with Calhoun, Trout, and Pujols, he's trying to get those guys an extra turn. So all 3 of them at the top of the lineup.
And even when Scioscia hasn't had Calhoun leading off this year, you have seen those 3 clustered together, even if it's 1, 2, 3 or 2, 3, and 4 in the lineup. You stay true to that form all year. Taijuan evens things up 2-2.
And a good fastball from Taijuan, 95 miles an hour.
Angels coming off just a devastating loss yesterday at home against the Astros. As Taijuan gets strikeout number 1 to begin things tonight.
Take a look at the defense for the Mariners. Trumbo getting the start in left field. O'Malley out in center. Seth Smith is in right. Kyle Seager, the Gold Glover, at third base. Marte, the shortstop. Cano and Morrison on the right side of the infield. And John Hicks will do the catching tonight. For Walker on the season, 10-game winner, 4.70 ERA, 150 strikeouts to only 40 walks. Opponents hitting .254 against Taijuan.
0-1 to Trout.
And Aaron, it's already amazing to me the difference. You mentioned it in the open with Taijuan struggling in his last outing. We're already seeing 95, 96 consistently. We did not see anywhere near that in his last outing. So he has a good fastball tonight.
Chilly night here, but he wouldn't be able to guess it with the velocity from Taijuan. He comes inside at 97.
Rick Waite's the pitching coach. Taijuan on the year, his average fastball 94 miles an hour. He'll mix in a changeup and a curveball with it. But he will throw a lot of fastballs trying to locate.
Working tonight on an extra day's rest.
97 on that last fastball. I like what he's trying to do here to Trout too. Trout is a very good low ball hitter. Typically we talk about low ball hitters and they're left-handed, but Trout likes the ball down in the zone.
Full count. Well, Trout's put up good numbers against Taijuan. Limited at bats, but good numbers nonetheless.
And for Trout, he has power to all fields, but mostly you can see him staying in the middle of the diamond, hitting him out to center field.
There comes Walker's 3-2. And for Taijuan, tonight marks only his 3rd career start against the Angels. He's had one really good start against Anaheim, and he's had another where he's been roughed up a little bit. Earlier this year in June, 1 run over 7 innings. As he gets the swing and the miss from Trout. Back-to-back strikeouts to begin things for Taijuan Walker. Nice start.
And we'll take a look at this last pitch. That's the changeup. 92 miles an hour on the changeup. So he's feeling pretty good tonight. His average changeup typically around 89. A little bit harder changeup for him right there.
That'll bring in Pujols. 2 up, 2 down. Pujols 5th in the American League in home runs with 35. And I'm seeing that changeup at 92 reminds us of what Aaron Hicks of the Twins said when asked about how good Taijuan's changeup was, and he said changeup, it was at 90 miles an hour.
Yeah,
that's the changeup.
That's the changeup.
You don't see too many at 92.
Pretty good curveball, did not get the call right at the bottom of the strike zone. Pujols' average has dipped, but the home runs are there for him. 35 home runs, 83 RBIs.
Glove to left field. Trumbo to the track. Side sat down in order, and Taijuan Walker coming out throwing flames here at the top of the first. Gorgeous night here from Safeco Field. Taijuan Walker, a quick start to this one tonight. A 1-2-3 top of the first as we go to the home half and a look at Lloyd's lineup tonight, Mike.
Tonight's starting lineups brought to you by Chevron. Leading off, it'll be Ketel Marte. Then it's Kyle Seager hitting second against the Angels this year. A .348 batting average with 3 home runs and 7 RBIs. That's in 13 games. Cruz, Cano, and Smith in the middle of the lineup. Trumbo, he's been a hot hitter. He will hit 6. Morrison, O'Malley, and Hicks round out the 9 for the Mariners. For Richards on the year, 13-game winner, a 3.71 ERA, 142 strikeouts to 58 walks. Opponents hitting .243, and he has given up 16 home runs this year.
His first pitch of the night to Marte, and it comes in there for a strike at 98. Well, we told you that this would be a matchup of 2 hard throwers, and Richards, one of the hardest fastballs in baseball in terms of velocity, averaging just a little over 95 miles an hour. And he started out 98 and now 97.
And you were laughing about Taijuan's changeup being 90 miles an hour. Well, his is at 91.
It will not be easy tonight.
Well, it's one of the best arms in the American League. And he gets pretty good movement on 2 at times. He will cut his fastball without losing any velocity at all. He also has a very good slider. Opponent's hitting just .206 against his slider this year.
His manager, Mike Scioscia, longtime big league catcher with the Dodgers. Marte behind in the count, and he's down on strikes.
Let's take a look at the defense for the Angels this evening. Murphy in left field. Trout, he can go get it out in center field. Calhoun, a strong throwing arm in right. Freeze at third baseman. Ibar and Featherston playing up the middle. Crone is at first base. Perez will do the catching for the Angels.
First pitch to Kyle Seager. Seager, some nice numbers lifetime against Richards, batting just over .320 against the right-hander. Right back to Richards, and that sawed him apart. Seager is out number 2.
Well, we talked about the velocity on his fastball. That looked like a cut fastball in on his hands. 98 miles an hour. As you take a look at our Alaska Airlines Supermo, the swing by Kyle. Right in there on the pine tar. Breaks his bat. Kyle hits a changeup back to Richards.
Little self-defense there for Richards. So 2 quick outs, and now facing Nelson Cruz. Cruz now second in baseball in terms of home runs. Chris Davis thumped another one recently, so Davis at 42, Cruz at 41. And you can see the home run leaders in the majors. We just had Nolan Arenado here at Safeco Field. And same story for Gonzalez. But it will be an interesting battle, to say the least, down the final month here of the season between Davis and Cruz. Davis hot in a free agent year after a tough year last year. Two outs and 2 strikes. Ibar, the Gold Glove shortstop. And both starting pitchers tonight in command early. A very quick 1-2-3, bottom of the first. Fun time tonight here at Safeco Field. We go to the second. 0-0. Yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Glad you could join us tonight from Safeco Field. A gorgeous night. Aaron Goldsmith, Mike Blowers, our entire Root Sports crew. Both starting pitchers going 1-2-3 in their half of the first, as David Murphy will lead things off at the top of the second for the Angels. Murphy, the former Ranger, and most recently Cleveland Indian. Right back up the middle on a base hit. First base runner tonight for the Halos, and that'll bring in C.J. Cron.
And you take a look at Taijuan Walker, and base is empty. He does pretty well. You can see nobody on base, a 210 average, slugging just 333. But when runners get on is when he has his issues this year. Most of it coming in the first half of the season, but a 332 batting average and slugging at 581. So for Taijuan, much better out of the windup, even though it's an abbreviated windup for him. He's had some issues with runners on, and the Angels get a leadoff batter on and Murphy with that base hit back up the middle.
Cron had spent some time up and down this year with Salt Lake City in AAA, and then also up in the majors with the Angels. And his role has really expanded recently, with Pujols essentially DHing every day. Pujols a foot injury to his right foot, which is a different foot than what he had plantar fasciitis on. But with that, Pujols has been really exclusively the DH, and that has made things an everyday role for Cron at first.
is obviously swinging the bat much better than he was earlier in the year, Aaron, when we saw him. Because you look at his numbers now at 275 with the 14 home runs, and a little over 300 at bats. That's pretty good production from him. Earlier this year, we saw him, he was down in the 230 range. So that's probably another reason why they're trying to keep him in the lineup. And if you look at the Angels, I was a little bit surprised to see how bad their offensive numbers are as a collective group.
Well, they have not been good this season, and they have particularly not been good since the All-Star break.
You look at it, they are last in hitting, 13th in runs scored, last in total bases. They do have some home runs in large part because of Trout and Pujols, but they are 14th in slugging, 14th in on-base percentage. Just a struggle for them offensively.
Opposite way, base hit. And this shuffles Murphy past second onto third. Smith's thrown to third base, and everybody's safe. Thrown to single. Murphy singled before him, now at third base. And you can see this is really amazing with the Angels. Going into the All-Star break, they had just moved past the Astros. They had the slimmest of margin of a lead for the top spot in the West. And things have really fallen apart for the Angels since, as you can see here. They entered tonight 4.5 games outside of first. And third place in the division. And speaking of the offense, Mike, this is the team, after all, that led baseball in runs scored last year. And really, for the most part, many of the pieces returned this year. Kendrick, of course, gone. Now a Dodger. But for the most part, everybody's back. And to add to that point, Pujols has had his best year as an Angel.
Trout's doing what he normally does, hitting almost 300, 292 at the start of today with 35 home runs. And Calhoun, kind of a breakout year for him.
No Josh Hamilton anymore for the Angels. And when you first think about the Angels' relationship with Hamilton, you think that he just didn't produce at all last year. Really, he played in about 90 games, and he was really okay. He wasn't as bad as you might think initially when you think about the disappointment that Hamilton was during his time in an Angels uniform. But he was somehow part of a lineup that scored the most runs of anybody last year in baseball, and left field has really been a void for the Angels since he left.
Well, we saw right before the trade deadline, it seemed that the Angels traded for 6 outfielders. Get a bunch of guys in there, and hopefully one of them plays well. Murphy getting the start in left field, 284 overall for him, and led this inning off with a base hit.
2 balls and a strike to Ibarn in the midst of a 6-game hitting streak. Taiwan trying to work around a couple of leadoff base runners. Murphy the single, then Cron right behind him. Marte on a Cano and to first base. They'll get 2 outs and give up a run. Murphy, the leadoff single, comes around to score. The Angels on the board first tonight, 1-0.
Yeah, and a pretty good pitch. It's a changeup again, right off the outside corner. Hits it off the end of the bat. See, it's an easy double play for Marte and Cano. Taiwan throwing the ball well tonight. There's another fastball at 95. He's topped out at 97 so far. I will not be surprised, even if he's pitching extremely well, if he comes out of the game early, 5-6 innings. They're trying to keep his innings down. At the start of this one today, he was at 162 2/3, the most he's thrown in a season. So trying to take care of him. I would not be surprised if they go to the bullpen fairly early.
That comes in and gets the shoulder of Freeze. We'll take a listen. Boy, that could have been worse.
Yeah, but he does the right thing. Watch him turn back inside. That's the way you're taught, to turn away from the pitch. So many times you'll see guys, they'll keep their face exposed and just kind of lean back, and sometimes fastball continue to run in there and you can really get hurt. But I like the way that he turned away from the pitch. Just a little glancing blow off the shoulder, no problem.
In steps Carlos Perez, the number 8 hitting catcher. Starts him off with a curveball strike. Well, Hank Conger gone, now a member of the Astros. Iannetta and Perez doing the bulk of the catching duties these days for the Angels. Taijuan keeping an eye on Freeze. Walker facing Anaheim for the first time in 10 starts. He last saw Mike Scioscia's crew in the middle of July and got roughed around a little bit. 7 runs, 6 earned over 5 innings after really a very strong start about a month prior to that against the same team. Two outs, 2 balls, and 2 strikes. Freeze the hit by pitch, will lead at first. And speaking of the innings, Mike, we know that at some point, and it would have to be pretty soon at this point, they will be skipping a start for Taijuan.
No, and I think that makes sense. Again, at this point in the season and where he's at, you have to take care of him. Last outing, his fastball was 92-ish. You know, I think that you throw that many innings, you really have to take care, especially the young stars. They did the same thing with Felix and everybody else.
Yeah, pretty curveball. 3rd strikeout tonight for Taijuan. A run in for the Angels. You put a retractable roof on your house? For inspiration, follow us on Instagram at Ultimate Bucket List. The roof wide open tonight. Beautiful night. First pitch temperatures this evening in the 60s. As Robinson Cano will lead things off in the bottom of the 2nd for the Mariners. Garrett Richards a 1-2-3 bottom of the 1st. A couple of ground ball outs and a strikeout. Cano now 10 hits shy of 2,000.
Man, we talked a lot about Richards and his fastball. You can see his cutter at 48% of the time. The first pitch to Cano was a cutter in on his hands. Fastball at 14%, so he's basically a cutter, slider, an occasional curveball from him, but he's going to throw the good fastball from 96 to 98 miles an hour in on the hands and mix that slider in with it.
And in Richards' case, Mike, the cut fastball doesn't seem to be one that is maybe as intentional as from other pitchers. This is something, just natural movement that he gets.
And I think what it comes down to from seeing him over the last couple of years is you'll see it straighten out more on the other side of the plate. So a left-handed hitter like Cano is now, when he throws a fastball in, that's when you see the cutting action to it. And so many times, I think on the pitch that's away from him, that's when you'll see him straighten out. Occasionally he'll run it and start it off the plate, try to run it on the outside corner. But you're right, Aaron. I wonder sometimes if he knows when he's throwing the cutter or not. It really comes down to his release point. And I can tell you as a hitter, it's difficult enough to gauge the cutter because you're not reading the spin of the ball. You can't see the spin of the ball and that late movement on it. But then when you put in 96 to 98 miles an hour on top of that, it can be very difficult.
Because that's the thing. When you think of a cut fastball, you think of there being somewhat of a velocity drop from a normal fastball, but that doesn't quite seem to be the same case for Garrett Richards. At least not to the same degree.
No, his fastball and his cutter are about the same speed.
Richards now 27 years old, born in Riverside, California, but went to high school in Edmond, Oklahoma, then went on to pitch in Norman at the University of Oklahoma. Drafted and developed by the Angels. Cano just a little bit outside, and he'll take a leadoff walk. Take a look at our CenturyLink What's Next. You know, it was supposed to be Matt Shoemaker getting the start tomorrow for the Angels, but he has been dinged up with some forearm tightness. So Mike Scioscia announcing that it'll be Nick Tropiano getting the start instead. He'll be opposed by the King Felix, looking for win number 18, and then the veteran Jared Weaver going up against Hisashi Iwakuma on a Wednesday to wrap up the series in the homestand. Looking forward to seeing the King tomorrow night against the Angels. Tying run at first for Seth Smith.
And even on Wednesday, Iwakuma going, but Weaver, it's been amazing to me to see how the velocity of his fastball has really gone down. I mean, he's barely touching 85 anymore with his fastball.
Well, these two starting pitchers, as we've established, throw changeups that have greater velocity than Weaver's fastball.
Right, exactly. And Weaver has never been a guy that was overpowering. You know, he has some deception, moved the ball around, but he was 90-91. And now at times you'll see his fastball at 83.
He has to have one of the most unique deliveries of any right-hander.
Yeah, I think that he's difficult for right-handed hitters to pick it up.
This is crushed, and the Mariners have taken a 2-1 lead. There was zero doubt about that shot from Seth Smith. Number 11.
Well, the good news, facing somebody that throws hard, and this will be a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. Seth ahead in the count. You can see it's middle of the plate. This will be a good look at our Alaska Airlines Supermo and the swing by Seth as he barrels it up. Hits it well back into the stands in right. But you hit 97 on the barrel, it will go a long way.
That brings in Trumbo. Oh, 2. And you can see where his fastball velocity sits on his own team.
You can see the major league average. Almost 92 miles an hour.
Now, the one caveat to that list is that Richards is the lone starter there. Got the next man, or the man ahead of him, out of the bullpen. And the incredible thing with Richards, he can keep his velocity for 6, 7, 8 innings. Nobody out for the 2-2. And the count pushes full.
And you can see Richards just overthrowing that slider as Logan Morrison waits on deck.
The middle, Ibar, the spin, and can't hold First 3 men reach. Trumbo snaps it 0 for 10. The walk, the 2-run homer. Now Trumbo aboard at first with an infield single.
Well, we'll take a look at the work by Ibar. At the range, quite a little bit of a ways at the middle. And then on a spin move, drops it on the transfer. Expecting him to make a spectacular play. It seems that Ibar always plays well against the Mariners.
He's one of the more underrated shortstops.
Yeah, I agree.
Very consistent. Trumbo at first, and here is Lomo. Still nobody out. Mariners coming off a series loss yesterday to Colorado. Now 3-4 on the homestand. Now, one thing we are seeing with Richards, Mike, he has obviously tremendous movement. He has off the charts velocity, and he makes for a pretty rough night for his catcher. Tonight it's Perez behind home. A lot of pitches in the dirt. And this year he has given up 14 wild pitches. And last year he was among the league leaders. And you never know when that might come into a close ball game, especially with a runner at third base. Could be a long night for the man behind the plate, catching Richards.
And those numbers that you're talking about, Aaron, I'm sure that's part of the scouting report that the Mariners went over before tonight's game. To be aware of that when you're on the bases, be alert. Sometimes guys lose a little bit of focus, and that opportunity, you miss it because you're not ready. And I think that with him, you almost have to anticipate the ball going in the dirt because he throws it in the dirt so many times. And you can see why. Just watching him, you can see he's a max effort guy, and that's on everything, whether it's his fastball or his curveball changeup, it doesn't matter. He's going to throw it as hard as he can.
Still 1-2. Now tonight for the Mariners, this is part of a string of 16 games where the Mariners will play an opponent from within the division 13 times. In fact, the upcoming trip to Kansas City for 3 games, that is the only series left the rest of the season outside of the division. Weak tapper. Richards, a fastball to first. And there is out number 1. Trumbo advances into second base. Almost works as a sacrifice bunt. Trumbo in scoring position for Sean O'Malley. O'Malley getting the start tonight in center field. Lloyd saying that Brad Miller's neck, he was a late scratch in yesterday's ball game, is better, and there's a chance, if needed, that we might see Miller off the bench to pinch run later in the ball game tonight. But so far so good for O'Malley as you see Miller there. Like 8 for his first 20 in the big leagues with the Mariners, that is.
Yeah, he's played well. He was up with the Angels for a little bit of time last year.
Crone far off the bag, and O'Malley will win this one by plenty. Trumbo into third base, and an infield base hit for Sean O'Malley. Now 9 for his first 21 in a Mariners uniform.
And it helps to have a lot of speed, and we certainly have seen that from Sean as well, as he gets in a foot race with Richards, able to beat him to the base. Pick up an infield hit. We'll take another look at it. Richards a little bit late getting over to first base. I'm not sure that he would have beat him either way.
Now to bring out Mike Butcher, an early visit. Boy, this is a much different Richards in terms of the results from what we saw in the first inning when he just plowed through the Mariners' first 3 hitters. A leadoff walk to Cano, the bomb home run from Seth Smith to right field. Now a couple of infield singles. John Hicks due up next.
And he's also having to throw a lot of pitches in this inning, as you mentioned, breezing through the first. Seen this from Richards, though, over the years against the Mariners. He can be dominant without question, but he'll also have an inning or two where it seems to lose it a little bit.
Now remember his last start against the Mariners. That was in the second week of July. He went just 5 1/3. He gave up at the time what was a career high 12 hits. He has since given up 12 in one start since then. But the Mariners got him for more hits than anybody else ever had in his career. His last time facing the Mariners. Runners on the corners for Hicks. And we were talking about the wild pitches with a runner at third base. Trumbo scores, and the Mariners lengthen the lead. It's 3-1.
And this is on a fastball. It's the cut fastball, and you can see he spikes it, throws it out in front of home plate. Right off the end of the glove. So difficult as a catcher, especially when you have a pitcher that throws the baseball at the velocities that Richards does, to block a fastball. And the reason why is you anticipate the breaking ball being in the dirt. Gives you time to get around to block it, but at that velocity, you don't expect a major league pitcher to throw it and have it bounce out in front of home plate. Difficult to stay in front of it. That's why you'll see more times than not they'll try to catch it with their glove. And Mike Zunino, when the time that he was here, was as good as anybody at that play, but not many can do it.
2 strikes to Hicks. Trying to catch up with that fastball. Hicks had his first major league hit in his first major league at bat. Has since gone 0 for his last 18. Trying to snap that here with O'Malley at second.
Taking advantage of a leadoff walk to Cano and a couple of infield hits.
This has been a 3-run inning for the Mariners. Still 2-2. And you can see where he ranks. Richards, that is, in terms of wild pitches, now with 15, tied for the most in the league. Last year he was tied for the most in the American League at the end of the season, so that has held true from last year to this.
He has now thrown 28 pitches in the inning. A lot of pitches.
O'Malley at second, the infield base hit, then the wild pitch. He's got plenty of speed to score from second base. He takes off to third, and a chopper foul.
And that would have been an easy stolen base for him. Hicks putting up a pretty good fight. 7 pitches so far in this at bat.
A look down to second base, and it's finished off at first. 2 outs. Back at the top of the order, that'll bring in Ketel Marte. O'Malley has to stay put at second. Marte struck out on a slider from Richards to begin the bottom of the first earlier tonight. Seth Smith, the 2-run homer, second batter of this inning. Of course, it was Smith in yesterday's ball game that had the 2-run single in the 4th. He made for the Mariners lone run to the ball game. This has been a long inning for Garrett Richards. O'Malley a long lead at second. Richards in his last start pitched into the 8th inning. That was against the Dodgers. 2 runs on 4 hits. He struck out 11 batters. That tied a season high. He's done that twice now. The Mariners have tagged him for 3 runs here in the second.
And this is not the type of inning that Mike Scioscia wanted to see from Richards, especially after the tough loss that they had yesterday. Trying to hang in this thing. And one of his better pitchers on the mound having to throw a lot of pitches, over 30 pitches here in the city, 42 total.
And I'll bring out Perez, the catcher. You bring up the loss yesterday. They had a chance. They were an inning away from a 3-game sweep of the Astros. This is a devastating loss. The Astros 5 runs in the 9th inning, all with 2 outs, and all against the man who leads the league in saves, Houston Street.
So they were an out away.
They were an out away.
Yeah. And at this point in the year, that changes everything for you.
And as Scioscia said, we had a great series, we had a bad inning. That's basically how it turned out for the Angels yesterday. Marte, the 7th batter for Richards here in the second.
And for Richards, he has been out on the mound for 20 minutes in this half inning.
He was on the mound for about 90 seconds in the first.
Yeah, you're right.
In the first, it was a strikeout to Marte, then a couple of ground ball outs. 4 pitches, make it 5 to get the final 2 outs of the first inning. And he loses Marte, as Ketel draws the walk with 2 outs.
Earlier today, I was having a conversation with Mark Gubicza, and Mark works TV for the Angels, longtime pitcher in the big leagues. But first thing he said to me, he said, "You guys are scoring a lot of runs now. What's going on?" I said, it is up and down the lineup. I said, pick a guy, and he has been hot at some point over the last month.
And think about, since the All-Star break, Mariners have the most extra base hits in the league. Second most in the game. Perez tries to skip it in, and it's off O'Malley.
You could see his helmet just go flying off of his head as the ball went down. There was a skip, and with him diving back in there, Ibar couldn't get in front of him to protect him. Boyd McClendon, Rick Griffin hustling out of the dugout to get to him. see Rick. Somewhere around his ear. It looked like it hit a part of the helmet, part of the side of his head, and obviously they're going to be really careful with him. Checking out his jaw.
Now Rick Griffin, who has been the Mariners' head athletic trainer now for over 5,000 games, he's just about seen it all. Good to have him on the scene, and good to see O'Malley up on his feet. And you're right, Mike, his helmet went flying off. And the issue is that the ball actually hit him once his helmet was off.
Oh, you can see his helmet when he hit the ground bouncing off of his head, and then it hits him, and Ibar right away waving to the dugout. It looks like he's going to stay in the game, and from the way Rick Griffin was looking at him, it looked like it was more of his jaw area. Might be eating soup for the next couple of days, but he's going to stay in the game, getting an opportunity to play.
Well, Chef Jeremy in the clubhouse will have the blender going for the smoothies.
Well, that's good news right there to see him stay in the ball game.
That really is. Marte, the walk is at first. Well, O'Malley reached on the infield single, advanced to second on a wild pitch, which scored Trumbo. 0-1 meanwhile to Seager. So the Mariners threatening once again here in the second. And misses by a lot. And already some activity as Richards is approaching 50 pitches.
Wesley Wright getting loose in the pen. Like the Rockies, not quite as many relievers, but the Angels have a lot of arms in their bullpen.
Jammed him. A little flare. Ibar to close the inning. The Mariners strand two, but they cash in. They get 3 runs, highlighted by the 2-run shot by Seth Smith. Take the lead into the top of the third. Well, the Moose is helping our youngest Mariners fan save for a rainy day with the free Mariner Moose Bank, courtesy of KeyBank. It's being given away to all kids 14 and under this Wednesday when the Mariners and the Angels square off at 7:10. You can pick up tickets, as always, at mariners.com. Well, Taijuan Walker, a long time in the dugout, to say the least.
Well over 20 minutes for that half inning. Good to see him come right back, throw a strike on the first pitch.
Featherston clobbers this down the line, and a foul ball.
For Richards in the bottom of the second inning, it was 24 minutes. Mariners scoring 3 runs. 39 pitches in the inning.
39
pitches in the inning. So
that'll cost him an inning later.
Man, you can see Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, still talking to him.
So you're seeing Taijuan go to that curveball early tonight.
He's already established his fastball. Featherston, the 9th hitter for the Angels. So I think go ahead, working here in the third, mix it in, at least show it to him.
Off the hands, little rainbow into right field. Smith there for out number 1. Taijuan through the order for the first time. It's back to the top with Cole Calhoun. Calhoun struck out on a 96-mile-an-hour fastball from Taijuan to begin the ball game tonight. When you think about this season for Taijuan Walker, we really have seen just about everything this year from Taijuan, and probably in some ways what you would expect for a young man in his first full major league season, just barely turned 23. And we have seen the brilliance of Taijuan, that one hitter in Minneapolis. We've seen, well, some short starts like his last time out against Texas where his command was not good, but we have certainly seen, Mike, plenty to know that this is a guy, we know that he's a power arm, but somebody that can compete for a long time at a very high level in this league.
What will be interesting is watching him in his winter program, the things that he's going to work on next. One of the things that Rick Waite's pitching coach wanted him to do was establish his fastball this year. And we saw it was a run of starts. I think it was 3 starts in a row where his fastball usage was up over 80%. Now, you're right, he has a good fastball, but with that amount of fastballs that you're throwing, even at 95 to 97, you better locate it, and that's what Rick wanted him to do. 1, that your fastball is good enough, and 2, locate it. Good fastball right there, elevated at 96 miles an hour. Then he let him start to use his changeup a little bit more, but his breaking ball has just been over the last month or so for him, where he's used his curveball some more as you look at that fastball at the top of the zone. And I think that's what he'll work on this winter. All of a sudden you start to bring in the breaking ball, the curveball, and throw it a little bit harder. I think it'll be a swing and miss pitch for him. He can bury it in the dirt and get guys to chase it because of the velocity of his fastball.
Could he possibly have 2 curveballs in the future? The slow one that we see now, 75-ish,
sure.
And then one that's more firm at 80?
Well, and the one that he's throwing at 75 now, typically I think the best time for him to use it is early in the count when he's trying to steal a strike, because hitters are all going to be looking for that fastball zone. They can just flip it up there and get it in the strike zone for a called strike. But once you have 2 strikes, without that bite on it, you give them an opportunity to put it in play and hit it hard somewhere. And I think that's something that he's figured out. So, yes, I think that's absolutely possible.
He's ahead of Trout, 1-2. And time called pretty emphatically there by Kerwin Danley, the home plate umpire, now in his 18th season.
Pretty good pitch at the top of the zone, 97 miles an hour. And that's going to the scouting report. Talked about it with Trout. We've seen it over the last few years. He is a low ball hitter, and Taijuan's purposely throwing the fastball up in the zone, trying to keep it out of his strength. There's a changeup. But I think that's the thing that you can get frustrated by at times when you're hitting your spots, making the pitches you want to, and you're not getting rewarded for it.
Boy, that was a heck of a pitch. That fastball up.
Yeah, it was right there.
Long way for Smith to go. Running out of room. Man, a souvenir. Now, some time ago, the Trout injured his wrist diving for a ball in center field. He missed a couple of games, never went on the disabled list. His numbers have not been the same since, but when you talk to people with the Angels, they will assure you that the dip in his numbers have nothing to do with that play in center field. Some more exercise for Seth Smith, and once again into the seats.
And that's back-to-back fastballs at 98 miles an hour. This might be one of his better nights we've seen velocity-wise from Taiwan.
You can see the first half and second half splits there for Trout. Backhand knocked down. Lomo, the flip, the barehand, and it's out of the grasp of Taiwan.
Taiwan not happy. Really good athlete. An interesting foot race. Taiwan Walker and Trout can see him trying to grab it with the bare hand. Hits off the heel of his hand, and he definitely would have been there in time to get Trout.
You know you got to hurry when Trout's burning into first base. And good to see Taiwan all right. Infield base hit for Trout. That will extend the top of the third. It brings in Pujols. Pujols, a fly ball out to the track to end the first inning. Close, but Trout back. And Kerwin Danley, the home plate umpire, is taking a close look inside the dugout to see if the Mariners might want to take a look at this. And there it is.
Man, it looks as if maybe they were able to get him.
Right out of the helmet.
And Logan, you can see right away, Alan Porter, the first base umpire, calling him safe. And Logan, we've seen him do this many times. Look right at the dugout and tell him to take a look at it, because Logan has a pretty good idea at first of whether he had a tag on time.
And that really would be big for Taiwan. When you think about it, we've already established the innings for Taiwan and trying to make things as efficient as possible. With 2 outs, you've got Pujols and then Murphy and then Crone. If you can get the out here and get onto the bottom half of the inning, that can give Taiwan another frame tonight.
No, you're absolutely right. And on top of everything else, it looked as if he made a pitch that he probably should have had a strikeout on Trout.
Good point. That high fastball.
Like Marte is giving him a hard time because he ended up on the ground.
Now the question is, did Lomo's glove look like glance off part of the helmet of Trout on his dive back into first base? And this is a few moments ago. Trout saying, "Did you get me?"
Well, looking at that, he probably couldn't tell if he had actually tagged him or not, because he was diving back in and hitting the ground, the jar hitting the ground. He probably didn't feel if it hit him, because if he did tag him, didn't tag him by much.
Right. Looks like we're about to find out. And he got him. That call is overturned. Trout picked off, and it turns out to be a 1-2-3 inning for Taijuan Walker. Mariners have the lead, and boy, what a ball game, what a series is taking place in Texas tonight. The Rangers hosting the Astros, the first of a 4-game series, and these two teams separated by a game and a half. The top 2 spots in the division. A final from Globe Life Park, 5-3 the final. The Rangers end up winning it. This is Nelson Cruz to begin things, and the Mariners third. Take a look at our Delta Airlines Keep Climbing standings. The loss column identical, 67 for the Astros, 67 for the Rangers. Astros lead cut to a half game. One firm hop to freeze for out number 1.
It was interesting seeing the lines on that game. Kazmir going 7 innings, 2 earned runs. Hamill 7 innings, 3 earned runs. And one of the things, Aaron, you and I talked about when we were in Houston was how good the bullpen had been for Houston. So the bullpen getting knocked around a little bit late in that ball game.
Really a couple of things when you look at this series, this 4-game set for those two teams that stand out. One, tonight you saw 2 guys, 2 lefties acquired at the deadline to help their respective teams for this exact case, and they squared off in the first game, Casper and Hamels. And then the other, when you think about it, the Astros joining the American League in 2013, this is the first time that both teams in Texas have been relevant at the same time, and especially this late in the season. And this is setting up for some good baseball.
Well, and I think it's Wednesday game. That one looks like another good matchup. I think it's Keuchel and Holland going in that one. So 2 more quality lefties.
And Hamels, by the way, was held back to start in this game tonight. So Jeff Bannister trying to line up his rotation to face the Astros.
And Holland is almost like picking up a guy at the deadline because he hasn't been available to him. And since he's come off the disabled list, he has really thrown the ball well.
Thrown the ball very well. The Mariners were able to get to him a little bit here at Safeco Field. 2 balls and a strike to Cano, who walked and scored. He made the slow trot around the bases on Seth Smith's 2-run homer.
Which I'm sure made Cano happy, made Lloyd happy, everybody happy that he was able to jog around. You mentioned the base hit by Seth Smith driving in the runs, and Cano having to hustle into home in yesterday's ball game is sliding, and you could tell that that one was
painful to look at.
Yeah, it was painful for him.
Gets some swinging up high, 96-mile-an-hour heat, 2 outs. Well, tomorrow it is Cholesterol Awareness Night here at the ballpark. All fans 18 and older are encouraged to take advantage of a free cholesterol screening and receive healthy heart tip. Screenings will be available until 8 p.m. Ostrinzica helping us out with that one. Two up, two down. The ground ball out, the strikeout, and here is Seth Smith. His last at bat, our Seattle City Light power play, and like this got out awfully fast.
2-0 count, gets a fastball right in the middle of the plate, 96 miles an hour, and he turns it around. 2-run home run for Seth, his 11th on the year.
No shift for Seth Smith as the count goes to 2-1.
It's been interesting with the Angels. We didn't see a shift with Kyle Seager in his at-bats either. And that's almost a normal thing on a nightly basis with Kyle and Seth putting the shift on, but the Angels deciding not to do that. Wesley Wright, the left-hander, getting loose in the pen again. For Richards, you can see 60 pitches so far. 60 pitches, 36 strikes.
And 39 of those pitches coming in the second inning when he faced all but one Mariner hitter. That was Nelson Cruz. 2 outs and the 2-2 to Smith. And he gets him looking. Boy, a little wide there. 1-2-3 as it turns out, and a couple of strikeouts. We go to the fourth. Tonight, the first of 3 with the Angels as we take a look at the Mariners calendar, brought to you by Sleep Country USA. After this series comes to a close, to finish off the homestand, an off day on Thursday, and then it is on to Texas. So you can see a couple of off days surrounding that 3-game series against the Texas Rangers, and then a 3-game series against the Kansas City Royals in first place in the Central. On to the top of the fourth. That's where Albert Pujols will begin things. They put the shift on for Albert. It was Pujols at the plate when Trout ended up being picked off at first. A nice curveball there to make it 0-2.
It'll be interesting to watch the Mariners and how they hold up over this stretch of games. All these teams obviously feel that they're in it. As you see this fly ball, looks like it'll be O'Malley in center. All these teams with winning records, and they won't face a team with a losing record until they face Oakland in the last 3 of the season. So this will be interesting to watch how these guys react to it, especially with the way they've been swinging the bats.
And that brings us to an interesting point made by Lloyd earlier today, and the question was posed to Lloyd of How do you judge talent, especially some young guys here in September? Limited at bats, and you look at even the catching carousel right now for the Mariners. You got Hicks, you've got Sucre, Barron as well. Thank you. You got the three young men back there. And Lloyd said, well, you really kind of start to get a better sense when you're going up against teams like the Angels, like the Rangers, who are really playing for something. The Rockies come to town. It's interleague play. The Rockies are way out of things. Get a little bit of a better sense maybe when you're going up against teams that and they're coming to town and they're fighting for everything that they've got.
Yeah, and the other one that'll be interesting is what Kansas City decides to do when the Mariners get to town on this road trip. Another good fastball from Taiwan. Because Kansas City, they've really played some great baseball this year, but they're 10 games out in front of Minnesota. And what kind of lineup and pitching rotation and bullpen guys that they're going to use.
I think that's one of the challenges when you hear people talk about the Royals is how does that team with such an egregious lead really in the division at this point going into the playoffs, how do they stay focused? And in fact, some people have even thought that that's why they brought Johnny Gomes into Kansas City, because he's a guy who probably won't get used that much on the field but has an intensity to him that can kind of help keep some focus for a team that is going to coast into the postseason. Well, Taiwan waltzes through the top of the fourth. That was awfully quick. 1-2-3 inning. He's faced the minimum 3 times in the first 4 frames. Sports is brought to you by BNSF Railway, sponsor of the BNSF Blast. Nice look outside. Beautiful Safeco Field. Mariners opening up this 3-game series against the Angels of Anaheim. And right now leading 3-1. A little bit of a cool night here from Safeco Field. Mariners getting 3 runs in the second. Richards, that second inning's the outlier. 1-2-3 in the first. 1-2-3 in the third. See what he does here in the fourth. Facing Trumbo. Trumbo, of course, an all-star back in 2012 with the Angels. He was born in Anaheim. Drafted by the Angels. And traded to the Diamondbacks. And then on to Seattle. You've seen a lot of jam shots from the right arm of Richards. He gets Trumbo there.
Last fastball in on his hands, and you get so used to tracking that cutter, and all of a sudden, we talked about it earlier, he doesn't throw a lot of straight fastballs or ones that have some run to it. But at 95 miles an hour, if it doesn't have that cut to it, there's a good chance it's going to get on your hands.
1 out for Lomo. Logan homered off of Richards in his last start against the Mariners. Wild at times, 2-0. We've seen a couple that really haven't been close, and that one's at the top of the list.
And again, it was a fastball. We've seen his fastball barely clear the grass and hitting the dirt well out in front of home plate, and that one airmails it to the backstop.
This gets Perez up out of his crouch, and Lomo ahead 3-0. Sosha, Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, off to his left, clicker in hand. Four-pitch walk. Lomo to first base with 1 out. Well, this Thursday we have another high school football game of the week brought to you by Acura of Bellevue. Tune in to see the Bonnie Lake Panthers battle the Auburn Mountain View Lions at 7 p.m. Pacific. Don't miss your favorite local teams in action this season on Root Sports. That's the third walk now for Richards. He's also had a wild pitch score a run. And now facing Sean O'Malley. Nice to see O'Malley still in the ball game after taking what turned out to be a throw out of second base off the side of his head, as Perez was trying to keep a watchful eye of O'Malley leading off of second.
O'Malley with an infield hit his first time up. Off to a great start with the Mariners, 9 for 21. And I think the thing that Lloyd and the coaching staff really like about him is his speed. And you can see the difference that has made since he's been in the lineup. Be curious to see if we have an opportunity to see him play in the infield, whether it's short or second. I've seen him in the outfield since he's been called up. I've seen him work out in the infield and take some ground balls, but so far just the outfield for him.
Played a lot of infield in Tacoma. O'Malley from Kennewick up with the Angels for about 10 games at the end of last season. As Lomo at first, 1 out. Shattered bat, Freeze on his second, and they'll get the out there.
And some pretty good footwork by Featherston, the second baseman for the Angels. As you see, Freeze gets rid of it quickly and an accurate throw so that he can protect himself. As you see, Logan always will go in hard, trying to break up the double play. Clean slide. No problem with that slide at all.
Two outs, O'Malley at first. That brings in Hicks. It was Hicks who was at the plate back in the second when the wild pitch came home to score Trumbo from third. Really will be interesting the rest of the month to see how Lloyd divvies up the playing time. Hicks, Sucre, Barron.
If I had to guess, I would think we'll probably see more of Hicks and Barron.
Would make sense. We've seen Barron twice now. That's it.
I think that they want to take a look at both of them, so give them both an opportunity to play a little bit more.
No, there's no doubt we know more about Sucre. We've seen him plenty more, so that's
the point.
That's how it all fits together. Sucre there. Hicks struck out back in the second. Now Richards a little preoccupied with O'Malley. All three Mariners runs coming in the second. 2-run homer from Smith and a wild pitch. It's easy to forget that Richards spent the entire winter rehabbing serious knee surgery. Suffered that injury at Fenway Park last summer, covering first base. Had a slightly delayed start to the regular season this year as a result. We can see his arm certainly feels fresh, but you do wonder, he had an entire winter full of strenuous rehab work, which then rolled right into spring training and then onto the full slate of the major league season. He's now making his 28th start. That's a lot of work.
No, it is, but I think that probably the plus to it is, with all that work, his legs ended up being a lot stronger, so that'll help him.
He gets Hicks looking. O'Malley stranded. We go to the fifth.
Join us tomorrow for Twitter Tuesday. You'll have 5 chances to win exciting prizes. We'll be posting questions and want to hear from you. So be sure to watch and follow us on Twitter at @RootsSports_NW. And a very good pitching matchup tomorrow. Nick Tropiano will go for the Angels, and Felix Hernandez, the King, going against Los Angeles. And he has 290 strikeouts in 44 starts versus Anaheim, the most against any team. Guys, back upstairs to you.
All right, Angie, looking forward to that one tomorrow night. Here is Ibar, 0-1. Chopper out to Cano. And there is a routine out, number 1. Well, hope you can stick around after the game for Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines. Chicana from sound from the clubhouse. We'll hear from the skipper, Lloyd McClendon. Taiwan Walker as well. Likely hear from Seth Smith, a 2-run home run back in the second inning. First pitch strike to Freese, who has missed some time this year. Second straight year that he was hit by a pitch on the exact same finger. And it got to a point for Freese where he really couldn't grip a baseball and throw it properly, so he had to miss some time and go on the shelf, and now back.
big key for Taiwan in this one. 16 batters faced, 13 first pitch strikes. So he's consistently worked ahead of the Angel hitters.
Time called. Well, you're right. First pitch strike to the last 10 batters faced. Slicing. O'Malley able to keep his feet and make the catch. 2 outs. And for a former infielder, really tracks this well.
Well, he has a lot of speed, but a pretty good jump as this ball's slicing away from him.
Two up, 2 down. Here is Carlos Perez. On the ground. Backhand Lomo. He'll take care of it himself. But Taijuan Walker in cruise control. He has faced the minimum in 4 of the first 5 innings. So the Mariners have the lead by 2. Well, thanks to BECU, on most Monday nights this season, families can purchase select view-level seats for one low price. Enjoy affordable fun at Safeco Field when you pick up your tickets at Mariners.com for the final BECU family night of the season. We hope to see you right here on the 28th. Astros will be in town. Tonight's starting pitcher Garrett Richards on to work the bottom of the 5th inning. He'll face the top 3 in the order: Marte, Seager, and Cruz. Marte has hit right-handers better this year. Of course, a switch hitter. Tonight, his first career game against the Angels. One and 2. The 1-2 to Marte. It looked like Mike Scioscia might have to go to his bullpen very early tonight. Nearly 40 pitches in the second for Richards. As Socha had to activate the bullpen a couple of times early tonight.
The amazing part to that is he looked as if he had dominant stuff in the first inning. And getting into the second inning, he just lost the feel of his fastball. And it looked as if he was having a hard time just getting it anywhere near the strike zone. The Mariners taking advantage of that.
Ibar charging. 1 out. Well, Mike, how about we take a look at our Geico this date in big league history? And this is something, Lo, that I'm going to go on a limb and say we're never going to see it again. I mean, really, no, it's incredible.
It is incredible. I think that you're right, that we'll never see it again. And back-to-back home runs. Senior hitting the home run first, and Junior the second home run. Both of them almost in the same spot in the left center field in Anaheim. I believe it was McCaskill that was pitching for the Angels at the time. But I think that you're right. I don't think that we'll ever see it again. I think Senior at the time was 40 years old.
25 years ago today. Forget back-to-back home runs, father-son. It's going to be a long time until we see just father and son on the same team, let alone going yard back-to-back. That's incredible stuff. One out, Seager behind 0-2. Now, speaking of family, Kyle's younger brother Corey has certainly made a pretty big impact early on. Corey Seager, a rookie for the Dodgers, hit his first big league home run the other day. Also stole a base and went 4 for 4 overall in that game.
Seen some of the highlights. Corey Seager. I know that he played some third. Have they given him an opportunity to play any shortstop? Have you seen there?
I'm not sure.
Shortstop through the minor leagues.
He is, and that was one of the questions around Corey's. He's so tall at that position, kind of like Correa with the Astros.
Curtis telling me that he started at shortstop tonight. He's been playing some shortstop.
Perez, an easy toss down to second base for out number 2. What do you think the Thanksgiving conversation is like in the Seager household? Maybe talking a little baseball?
Probably. Probably. Yeah, I would think so. Talented family, that's for sure.
2 up, 2 down, and brings in Cruz. Of course, Justin Seager drafted by the Mariners, and Kyle was in the clubhouse one day eating lunch, tracking the draft on his iPad when he saw his youngest brother, Justin's name, come across on the ticker saying that he was drafted by the Mariners, and that was a real thrill. So 3 brothers in pro ball, 2 now in the major leagues. One ball and 1 strike to Cruz. Now Richards faced the minimum in the first, did so again in the third, and has a chance to do that once more here in the 5th. Now at 90 pitches. Cano would be next. The 3-1 to Cruz, and he walks him. A 2-out walk. That is the 4th walk tonight from Garrett Richards. Well, as always, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Cruz extends the bottom of the 5th for the Mariners. Cano the opposite way, and it drops in for a base hit. Robinson reaching for the second time tonight, his first hit. Well, they are counting to 2,000. And Robbie now 9 hits away from 2,000 on his career.
And he's being aggressive. First pitch fastball, 95 miles an hour as he lines it into left field.
2 outs and now 2 on for Seth Smith. Smith pelted the 2-run homer out to right field of the second inning.
And Wesley Wright, the left-handed reliever for the Angels, getting loose again. Third time that he has been up in the ball game.
Now the bullpen for the Angels crowded like for most teams this time of year. So many call-ups. The Rockies had 14 relievers in their bullpen. Technically speaking, the Angels have 11. You can't really count Matt Shoemaker. He's officially listed in the bullpen. He was scheduled to start tomorrow, but it'll be Tropiano because of some forearm stiffness for Shoemaker. This is clubbed out to center. Trout cocks his neck, and it's off the wall. Cano will have to be held at third, a run in. That's Cruz, and with 2 outs, Smith blisters one to center field. It's 4-1 Mariners.
And for Seth, when he hit the home run, it was a 2-0 fastball. And in this at bat, there's 3 off-speed pitches in a row. That last one at 89 miles an hour right on the outside corner. Squares it up. Thought it had a chance to leave the ballpark, but right in the middle of the fence, dead center field. Right below the 401 mark.
Three RBIs tonight for Smith. You can see Cruz looking out to Cano saying, "What are you doing at third base?" Well, we know that Cano running pretty gingerly these days.
No, he was about halfway to third base, and Rich Donnelly, the third base coach, was already holding him up.
2 on, 2 out. And for Cano, he has said that it's most painful, that abdominal strain, when he starts quickly. So either if it's at second base, ranging for a ball left to right, or out of the box or off a bag.
He's pointing at Donnelly, saying he's holding him up.
And tight on the hands. And it's 1-2. Pardon me, still 2-2. 0-2. We'll get it right. Trumbo reached on the infield single back in the second. He's reached now in 16 straight games. Pops him up. Here comes Freese. Perez. It's the third baseman, though, David Freese, in foul ground. The Mariners get a run in. Seth Smith out to center field. And it's 4-1 Mariners. Mike Trout reaching on an infield single, and Taijuan Walker, well, originally ruled safe and put the headsets on and picked off.
Well, Taijuan's a good athlete, and you can see the quick feet right there as he's able to pick Trout off. And Logan Morrison has done a good job all year looking to the dugout when he thinks he has the runner out. And, of course, Lloyd McClendon took a quick look at it, asked the umpires to take a look, and they were able to get the out. And Taijuan has really thrown the ball well tonight, topping out at 98 miles an hour. So far for Taijuan, 71 pitches in the game and a lot of first pitch strikes. 18 batters faced, 15 first pitch strikes for Taijuan.
Well, that is such a stark contrast from his last start when command was the issue, but only 3 innings against Texas. And Lloyd was asked after Taijuan's last start, point blank, was this an issue of Taijuan being fatigued because of the innings limit, or inning count rather, his highest of his career, or is this just not having it? And Lloyd said, listen, this has nothing to do with the innings. He just didn't have command his last start.
And that happens. These guys aren't going to go out there with their best stuff all the time. And for Taijuan, I think maybe some of his command issues came because his fastball velocity was down and maybe trying to force it, because today he's done an excellent job pitching on both sides of the plate. And we talked about at the beginning, he typically throws a lot of fastballs. He's been right around 75% fastballs on his pitch usage this year. Seen a few more curveballs from him. There is one that he misses with. But for the most part, he's been fastball changeup.
Gets some swinging through that changeup. Feathers him down on strikes. Well, the Mariners are proud to partner with Fred Hutch, a Seattle-based cancer research institution discovering advances in prevention, treatment, and cures. Join Fred Hutch to celebrate its 40th anniversary at a block party on the South Lake Union campus tomorrow from 4 to 7. More information at fredhutch.org/block party. Back at the top of the order here is Calhoun. And Taijuan has really gotten to the better part of Calhoun tonight. 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts.
And good timing starting him with the changeup right there down. That's where he's dominating. The fastball that's been borderline up. Calhoun has had a tough time trying to catch up to it.
You know, Mike, we hear that a lot, how tough that fastball up is, how hard that is to catch up to. It is 96, so that alone doesn't help things. But what is it about the fastball up that makes it more difficult than low?
Well, if you think about the swing, and one of the greatest examples that I have of it, this ball is fouled off. A lot of people have probably seen the swing in the picture of Ken Griffey Jr., and they have that loop following his bat around. Well, all he's doing is dropping the barrel down in the zone. It's easy. When you're up there, it's easy to just drop the barrel out there. To get the barrel in the hitting area at the top of the strike zone, you have to work a lot harder at it. And the problem that you have is when it's a high fastball, you see it really well as a hitter, and so you're going to try to attack it. But then when you're able to do that at the velocity that Taijuan is throwing tonight, it even makes it tougher. And that's what we're talking about with Trout, Calhoun, even Pujols at times. You'll see them try to throw that fastball at the top of the strike zone, and that's why Taijuan, when he threw a couple of fastballs, here's an example of the fastball. This is right at the top of the strike zone. And you can see, even if he were to hit that, he was going to get jammed on. That was on the label right there.
Marte gobbles it up for out number 2.
And the other part of that, and if you think about it, is pitching forever, it seems, especially in today's game. Everybody wants to pitch down, keep the ball on the ground as much as they can. So as a hitter, you're used to seeing that. And you're going to work on hitting that pitch, but all of a sudden it's elevated. That makes it more difficult. And it doesn't necessarily have to be at 95, 96. If a pitcher has a good changeup and you have that in the back of your mind, you can still pitch up there even if your fastball's 88, 89.
Can't help but think of Chris Young when you describe somebody like that.
Chris made a living and a fly ball pitcher, right?
Absolutely. He defied all pitching logic.
And he was 87. But he get a lot of lazy fly ball outs. And I think most hitters, their swing is grooved, and it's much easier to just drop the barrel towards the bottom of the strike zone than having to fight on that at the top of it.
Splitting Seager and Marte. Trout his second hit tonight, the first that gets out of the infield, and that will keep the top of the 6 alive for the Angels.
And this is on the changeup, and you'll see with the swing of Trout. We talked about him being a good low ball hitter, and you can see how he just drops the barrel. That changeup at 91 miles an hour still jams him a little bit, finds a hole on the left side of the infield.
2 outs, Trout at first base for Pujols. Well, this has really been a renaissance season for Pujols, who is, at least in the first half, look back to his form of old when he was in the National League with St. Louis. This was the first All-Star season for Pujols in the American League with the Angels. His numbers have not been the same, though, in the second half. Not dealing with a foot injury, which is limited to only DH duties. But for Pujols, in roughly his last 20 games, he's hitting beneath 200 with a 1 home run and only 4 extra base hits. Even with all that said, though, he's 5th in the league in homers. Hicks off to the mask, but just on the other side of the screen.
And here's a good example, Aaron. We were talking about it earlier with Taijuan and his breaking ball. So he gets ahead of him 0-2, elevates that last fastball. He threw it exactly where he wanted to, 97 up out of the strike zone. He pops it up, ends up going foul. So he can elevate another fastball, go a little bit higher, see if he was going to swing at it. But if he had the power curveball, he could also try to bounce it off the plate and try to get him to chase it. Because so far it's been 3 really good fastballs, all of them in. 2 of them at the top of the strike zone. So he's geared up for something firm right here. And for Taijuan, I think that hard breaking ball will be a really good pitch for him.
That's the next step.
I think so.
Breaks the bat. Seager will go to first. Pujols not running well. And that'll be it for the Angels in the top of the 6th. We go to the home half. Mariners still on top. Look at our Columbia Bank difference of the game. Seth Smith, second inning, a man on, and he crushes this pitch, Mike.
He's been a really consistent player for the Mariners this year. Looking back to spring training, we weren't sure how much he was going to play as he hits this double off the center field fence to drive in the 3rd run of the ball game for Seth. 40 RBIs for him now. But he's consistently played this year against right-handers. For Richards, 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 runs. They were all earned. Walked 4 batters, a little bit wild tonight, 6 strikeouts. He threw 100 pitches, 62 of those for strikes. And Wesley Wright, we talked about him pretty much throughout the game because he'd been getting loose almost every inning. Only 5 appearances for him, a 2.45 ERA. Opponent's hitting .231 off of Wesley.
Yeah, he's certainly warmed up by now. Starts Lomo off of the strike. And Logan did not seem too pleased with that call. And it's 0-2 quickly. Logan leading off the bottom of the 6th. The opposite way, a little flare. Music play for Murphy for round number 1. Now Charlie Furbush out the rest of the year with the rotator cuff injury, but a nominee today was announced for the Roberto Clemente Award, and always going to somebody who does fine work in the community. And Charlie has made Seattle his home. He's here over the winters.
Nice honor for Charlie.
Really is.
To be nominated for that award. And we talked about it. Going to see a lot of pitchers. Whole bullpen.
No surprise. We've got a pitching change.
Mentink here at the Ford Sports Desk. While the Angels make a pitching change, it allows me to share some of our photos that you have shared with us. Shannon Johnson sent this gorgeous photo of Safeco Field, and remember to use the hashtag #WhereIRoot. Zach got autographs from the back end of the bullpen, Carson Smith and Tom Williamson. And Cassie says 29-year-olds can have their pictures taken with the Moose too. The answer, absolutely, Cassie. Well done. All right, Aaron, back upstairs to you.
All right, thank you, Ange. We've got a new pitcher. It is Mike Morin. Takes over for Wesley, who threw 3 pitches, got 1 out.
For Morin, 34 appearances on the year, 1-1 record, high ERA, 6.75 ERA for him, 28 strikeouts over 25 in the 3rd.
Drops a curveball in to make it 1-1. Morin has been up and down a little bit this year. Spent some time on the disabled list as well with an oblique injury, but he was part of the rosters expanding at the start of this month. O'Malley falls behind a ball and 2 strikes. Chris Woodward making a young fan very happy. Check swing. He does not go.
And there you can see the high fastball from him. A couple of off-speed pitches, breaking balls at 70, 72 miles an hour. Pop a fastball in there at 91, above the strike zone.
Rings him up. It's a tough pitch. 94. And you can tell O'Malley thought that was coming in a little tighter than it actually did. 2 outs.
John Hicks 0 for 2 tonight. I'd see him get things going with the bat a little bit. Was able to pick up a base hit. I believe it was in his first start. A base hit to right, and it's been a struggle since then.
Well, the way things have unfolded for Hicks, his first hit coming in his first at bat, so things starting off pretty well.
Easy league.
Yeah, exactly. A hitless since. 1-1. Two up, 2 down so far here in the Mariners' 6th inning. Hicks, a former 4th-round draft pick out of the University of Virginia. And that'll be it for the Mariners in the bottom of the 6th inning. Side retired in order, and a couple of strikeouts to end things. We are off to the 7th. Mariners on top. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Money Tree, proud to make a donation to Mariners Care for every Mariners win. By CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Jack in the Box. If the Mariners win, mention Mariners for a free Jumbo Jack with purchase tomorrow at Jack in the Box. Well, turning out to be a cool but pleasant night here from Safeco Field as David Murphy goes after the first pitch. O'Malley out number 1. It brings in Crone.
And 88 pitches for Taiwan, 63 strikes. Nobody throwing in the bullpen. Been very efficient tonight.
Crone 1 for 2. Singled the opposite way in his first at bat. Taiwan starts him off with a fastball strike. Pretty close there. Ruled a ball. Center. O'Malley chasing after it, giving way, and on the track, Seth Smith for round number 2. Rasmus warming up in the bullpen.
See Seth calling. Ended up being an easy catch. Pretty good ride by Crone. Right in front of the fence on the warning track.
2 outs for Ibar. Rattles its foul straight back. Ibar hitless tonight, but a run did come home on a ground ball double play off his bat in the second. That was the first run of the ball game and the only run so far for the Angels. He got a bad swing off of him that time, chasing way outside.
Chasing the changeup. Pretty good movement on it, running away from it.
Just missing. Taijuan approaching 100 pitches. Figure the clock is ticking. And a big swing and a miss. 97 on what could be the last pitch tonight for Taijuan Walker. And if it is, what a way to finish things off. 7 strikeouts for Taijuan tonight here from Safeco Field. About stretching your mind as you consider how a Washington's lottery win would change your bucket list. Play today. Beautiful Safeco Field. Roof open tonight. Game 1 of this 3-game series against the Angels, and Rick Wade's talking things over with Taijuan Walker. Pitch count nearing 100. You can see some congratulations there inside the dugout. Taijuan, Mike, 7 strikeouts over 7 innings, just the 1 run on the double play ball.
Yeah, dominant fastball tonight. Had a really good changeup. Mixed in his curveball a little bit more. But a nice bounce back from him after his last outing against Texas, going just 3 innings. Able to pitch 7 innings tonight. Fastball topping out at 98 miles an hour. But it looks as if he is done for the evening. Carson Smith getting loose in the pen.
And really the perfect note for Taijuan to end on tonight.
No walks tonight. Corey Rasmus will take over. 9 appearances for Corey. 3.95 ERA. 16 strikeouts in 13 2/3. Opponent's hitting just 170, but he has given up 3 home runs.
Backs Marte up a little bit. So Rasmus now the 3rd reliever used tonight for Mike Scioscia in back of Garrett Richards, who allowed all 4 Mariners runs over 5 innings. Wave chasing that one. Marte 1-1. Just barely got a piece. Corey, the brother of Colby Rasmus, the outfielder for the Astros. And he's able to get Marte to swing through that pitch, and right away on number 1. Now, during the commercial break, Rick Wade's talking with Taijuan Walker, and then some company coming over. Felix making as if he has no respect for the innings limit there, Mike. Get back out there, Taijuan.
Well, Felix over 200 innings every year.
Yeah, exactly. This one went pretty well for Taijuan Walker tonight. You can see Carson Smith loosening up in the bullpen. Seager breaks his bat a little bit out to right field and in front of Calhoun. First hit tonight for Kyle Seager. He's aboard with 1 out. Keep your eye on the bus. Follow us from a safe distance on Twitter at Sound Transit. 1 out, 1 on for Nelson Cruz, looking for his first hit tonight. He walked and scored back in the 5th. Came home with a double from Seth Smith to center field. Cruz is now just 3 hits shy of tying a career high, which he set last year with the Orioles. Leading the American League in slugging, 2nd in the majors, trailing Bryce Harper. Harper having truly a historic season. One and 1. One out, 1 on. Keeping an eye on Seager. Rasmus, a former first-round draft pick by the Braves. That was back in 06. Barely pitched at all the major leagues with Atlanta. Cruz behind at the count of 1-2 strikes. Seager leads at first.
A lot of off-speed pitches from Rasmus. That last pitch, a fastball up out of the strike zone, but seeing him throw a lot of breaking balls and changeups. His best fastball so far, 94 miles an hour. So a good fastball.
Freeze off his glove. This dies in left field. Seager all the way into third base. First hit tonight from Nelson Cruz.
And one breaking ball too many for Rasmus. Cruz squares that curveball up at 73 miles an hour. Hits a past Freeze, the third baseman. You can see it hooking away from him. James Jones will pinch run for Cruz.
Number 99 at first base. Seager at third.
Nobody throwing in the pen for the Angels. Carson Smith ready to go in the Mariners bullpen.
Everybody now ready. Making sure Jones keeps tight.
Cano with a base hit his last time up. First pitch fastball. Lined it into left field.
And again. Really, it's pretty surprising or amazing that for as much as Robinson is struggling with the abdominal strain, that it hasn't affected his swing at all. Even Lloyd has been surprised by that.
He said that. He said that the thing that bothers him is what you mentioned earlier, starting to run and just running in general. The swing in the bat, he said it hasn't bothered him at all.
Lloyd joked, and this was all joking, that he's swinging the bat better hurt than he was healthy, and maybe he should have gotten hurt a while ago. Lloyd keeping a sense of humor. Time called. Seager singled to right, moved all the way into third base with the base hit from Cruz. Now Jones pinch running at first. Now Jones can be quite the distraction.
And that's something that Lloyd had talked about. He was talking about Marte and O'Malley and how that benefits the guys that are hitting after them, because they are distraction. You'll probably get a few more fastballs to hit. If they're worried about the runners, maybe make a few more mistakes and take advantage of that.
Runners on the corners, one out. Two.
A change up.
Pitch out. Jones was pretty far off the bag at first, but able to get back in standing.
Certainly understand why they're paying so much attention to him. In his career, he's 28 out of 29 in steals. And he's getting one of the bigger leads we've seen.
Jones spending some time with the disabled list this year in the minors. At one point with a concussion. Another point with pretty serious toe injury. Called up after the Rainier season came to a close. And once more, copy and paste.
And they'll throw over again. Again, a big lead for Jones.
And James has the dirtiest uniform, and he's been in the game the least amount of time. There he goes. Up the middle. Base hit. Seager can waltz home. Here comes Jones. Oh, boy, he will score easily. Jones spreading around. And the Mariners get two. Cano. A two-run stand-up double. The Mariners add on here at the bottom of the seventh. Another hit for Robinson Cano, closing in on 2,000.
And he'll pick up a couple of RBIs because Jones was on the move. But a solid line drive base hit. Trout typically would be able to cut this ball off, but it's just hit too hard.
Number 99 doing what number 99 does best, and that is fly. So Cano's reached base 3 times today.
Looks like Stephen Romero is going to pinch run for Cano.
By the way, we've talked about this season for Robbie and the extra base hits, another season of 50 straight extra base hits, and that just adds to the list. He entered tonight. This is pretty amazing when you think about just all the incredible hitters over the course of this game's long history. He entered tonight tied for 100th on the all-time doubles list with Rod Carew. So he just passed Hall of Famer Rod Carew with that two-base hit.
And now 8 hits away from 2,000 in his career. Talked about it earlier with Cano. The oblique that he's been dealing with. Taking it easy, cruising into second base for that double.
To get to where he is right now in the all-time doubles list, he has somewhat recently passed Roberto Clemente. He has passed Barry Larkin, a couple of Hall of Famers there. He's now 3 doubles shy of tying Hall of Famer Joe Morgan. This is pretty elite company. Smith well ahead of the count, 3-0.
And with the Mariners adding a couple more runs, Carson Smith will sit down. Danny Farquhar is starting to get loose in the pen. There's Danny.
A strike to make 3-1.
Mariners so far tonight 3 for 6 with runners in scoring position, so having a good night driving in runs.
Not called a strike. Looked like that could have meant first base for Smith, but instead a full count. Romero running at second. Jams him, and that catches Perez. Smith cuts through it, down on strikes. Two outs for Trumbo. Well, when you head to Safeco Field on Friday, October 2nd, you could be flying out of the ballpark with 2 round-trip tickets courtesy of Alaska Airlines. It's one of dozens of prizes that will be given away all night long as part of Fan Appreciation Fireworks Night. So stop by mariners.com/fan for tickets.
Trumbo 1 for 3 tonight. Got a base hit and scored back in the second inning.
Trumbo reaching base back in the second. He's now reached base in 16 straight games. His bullpen continues to stir for the Angels. He's now tied for his 3rd longest on base streak in his career. This is cracked back towards Trout. Trout looking up, and this is just off the top of the wall. Trumbo steams into second base, and he misses a homer by a fraction of an inch. Romero scores. It's 7-1 Mariners.
And they are having a really good night hitting with runners in scoring position. Second double in the inning. Cano with a double, and then Trumbo follows up with this double. Gets a fastball out over the plate. Mariners now 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position as we'll see where it hits. Right off the top of the fence.
Well, nobody more disappointed than the man in orange.
Great reaction. Brad Miller going to come on a pinch run for Trumbo.
Three runs in for the Mariners this inning. We saw Jones come off the bench to pinch run for Cruz. We saw Romero do the same thing for Cano, and now Miller for Trumbo. We heard Lloyd say earlier today that Miller might be available to pinch run later tonight, and he is. There was a late scratch yesterday with a neck issue.
Brad will probably stay in the game and play second base.
Just gets a piece. That bends him back.
And another long inning for the Mariners. 28 pitches in the inning for Rasmus. Danny's ready to go.
Pops him up. Perez off of the mask. And a full count.
Sean O'Malley waiting on deck.
Mariners had a 3-run second, now a 3-run seventh. As Adams comes in and gets Lobo. Either way, he takes first base. And here comes Scioscia. Well, not a strong performance from Rasmus. The Mariners really went after him. And we've got another pitching change here in the bottom of the 7th inning. The Mariners cash it in, looking for more.
us, and when I say us, I mean me and the Hall of Famer Warren Moon for a new episode of Seahawks All Access. It debuts this Wednesday. We will take you down onto the sidelines and into the huddle. We've got the good, the bad, and the ugly from the game against the Rams. Hear what the players are saying during the game, and I tell you who I'm going one-on-one with this week, but I don't know yet because we don't shoot that until Wednesday. So again, Seahawks Press Pass at 6, and then a new episode of Seahawks All Access at 10:30. NFL blackout restrictions may apply for your local programming schedule. Visit rootsports.com. And when you do, click on Mike Flowers' picture. Guys, back upstairs to you.
All right, thank you, Ange. Cesar Ramos out to take over for Rasmus, who really got knocked around.
Ramos has pitched well for him. ERA just over 2. Opponents hitting .271. He's only given up 2 home runs in 48 innings this year.
Miller pinch running at second in the spot for Trumbo. Morrison drew the walkies at first. One and one to O'Malley. Two outs and 2 on. And what has already been a very good inning for the Mariners. Cano, the 2-run double. Trumbo, the run-scoring double, which was just an inch away from going over the wall off the very top of the yellow stripe.
And talked about it, the Mariners, a couple of long innings offensively. In the second inning, Garrett Richards had to throw 39 pitches, and now 34 pitches for the relievers in this inning. Edgar Martinez happy with what he's seeing tonight.
Right back up the middle. O'Malley a base hit. Miller into third. Trout's throw home up the line, and Miller in standing. 8-1 Mariners.
And we'll take a look at it. Fastball right on the inside corner. It jams him a little bit, but fights it off. Right back up the middle for a base hit. Second base hit for O'Malley in the game. Now 2 for 4 with an RBI.
The Mariners with 3 pinch runners in this bottom of the 7th, and all 3 have come around to score. Lomo now in third. Hicks tied to the line, but a foul ball. One to the Mariners catcher. Four runs in for the Mariners here in the 7th. No 1-2 to Hicks. We can add a 4th catcher to the roster, Mike.
He has a strong throwing arm. That much I know.
I was afraid just the throws to second base would just be in the dirt a little bit too much. Hicks on to first as Perez can't find it. Lomo scores, and it just continues for the Mariners here in the bottom of the 7th. This is a 5-run inning, and Mike Scioscia is left just shrugging his shoulders and shaking his head. A wild pitch brings a run in.
John chases the changeup, and instead of blocking it, he tries to catch it with his glove. The walk to Lomo comes around to score.
O'Malley into second base. And the Mariners bat around. Here is Marte. A shot to center. Can it get over Trout's head? Yes, it can. O'Malley in from second base. Hicks puts on the brakes at third. And the Mariners grab yet another run here in the seventh. This is a 6-run inning.
And Marte showing some pop. Trout playing shallow in center field. Line drive over his head. For Marte, his first base hit, now 1 for 4, picks up an RBI. And the Mariners 6 for 11 with runners in scoring position tonight.
Two in scoring position. Here is Seager. And Seager smashes this out to right field, but Calhoun can play it well in front of the warning track. Seager, it sounded better than it looks. Out to right. 2 left in scoring position, but 6 runs in for the Mariners. Offense for the Mariners. Can't forget about Taijuan Walker tonight. What a start for the Mariners. 23-year-old Taijuan Walker finishes the night with 7 strikeouts over 7 innings. And he really ended up handcuffing the Angels bats tonight, Mike.
Yeah, he had a good fastball tonight. Topped out at 98 miles an hour. Had a really good changeup. Used his curveball tonight. It was good to see. Big key, didn't walk anybody. See the 96 pitches. 68 of those for strikes. A lot of first pitch strikes tonight for Taijuan.
And a new pitcher up on the mound for the Mariners. It is Danny Farquhar to work the 8th inning.
Danny's looked pretty good in his last few outings. 34 appearances overall for Danny. 37 strikeouts, 39 2/3. Opponents hitting .276 against him.
And some changes defensively for the Mariners. We mentioned Farquhar. Miller now at second base for Cano. Romero in left field for Trumbo. Tight behind the bag. Seager. And plenty of time. Here is David DeJesus pinch hitting. This is what we were saying every time the Mariners played the Rays earlier this year. It was always DeJesus off the bench. DeJesus pinch hitting here for the Angels now, brought over at the deadline.
And another former Ray, Matt Joyce, on deck. So he's going to pinch hit.
Left field offensively has been really a black hole for the Angels this year. Joyce was the man who was really given that job out of spring training and just was not able to produce at the plate. Left fielders for the Angels this year have hit 7 home runs all season. Madison Bumgarner has hit 5. Tricky hop. Marte trying to stay with it, and DeJesus flies too fast. He's in at first. A 1-out base runner. Well, time now to take a look at our T-Mobile DataStrong fan photo of the game. Adorable Rachel tuning in. Now that is that a onesie? It's tough to tell from this angle, Mike, but no matter what, that needs to be on every Mariners fan back home. Apparently that is Sean O'Malley's niece, we're just learning.
No wonder why she's a Mariner.
Exactly.
Fan.
Joyce pinch hitting.
Mariners have the shift on Kyle Seager on the right side of the infield with Joyce at the plate. There you can see Kyle. Brad Miller at second base.
Two and two to Joyce. Curveball that time, a full count. Into the shift. Miller to Marte. And keeping his foot there. Lomo at first base. Double play ball. That'll do things for the Angels in the top of the 8th. We go to the home half.
Big Sky Conference football returns to Root Sports this Saturday, presented by your local Ford stores. All the action begins at 1 p.m. Pacific as the Montana State Bobcats travel to Roos Field to take on the Eastern Washington Eagles. For a full broadcast schedule, visit rootsports.com. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, guys, but I didn't think the bottom of the 7th was ever going to end.
Had a couple of innings like that.
We got a new pitcher up on the mound near the bottom of the 8th, Cam Bedrosian.
26 appearances for Cam. 27 and a third, 24 strikeouts, a lot of walks, 15 walks in 27 and a third. Opponents hitting .308, he's given up 3 home runs.
And looking like we've got a lot of changes for the Angels. Find those out quickly here. Now Scioscia's trying to figure it out. Dino Ebel is bench coach to his right.
Kermit Danley, the home plate umpire, trying to keep it all straight.
This feels like we're back in Peoria.
Spring training, you see this a lot. Going to need a new pen after this one.
He's on the backup already, probably. A good sense of humor.
Well, James Jones, who came on as a pinch runner, is going to get a chance to get an at-bat tonight.
We do have a new catcher. We know that much. For the time being, there will be a lot of Smiths out there.
Jet Bandy is the new catcher, and I believe he's making his major league debut. That's what Tom Hutler was telling us, and that is the case.
And that's Jet with 2 T's, Mike. That is a great baseball name.
It's a great name.
Up the middle, Jones will reach. Now De Jesus is in center. We just saw that. The jigsaw puzzle. Well, the most popular way to follow the action of Mariners baseball is with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, StatCast, live radio broadcasts, and more. Get the MLB.com at bat now. First at bat for Romero, who pinch ran last inning for Cano.
Cam Bedrosian, the pitcher for the Angels right now. Good fastball. 95, 96 miles an hour. And you can see just 16 at bats for Romero since he was called up.
And on the hands, 1-2. Looks like Joyce is in right field.
Brian Jackson, a new shortstop.
This really is like the Cactus League. Let's take a quick freeze frame this. Rob Nodine. Here we go. And it's still confusing. That'll be it for Romero. 1 out, 1 on.
Rob Rasmussen getting loose. He'll pitch the 9th inning. Good night for Seth Smith. 3 RBIs for Seth with his 11th home run. Doubled off the center field wall.
And the Mariners offense have given that padded wall in center field a run for its money today between Smith's double and Trumbo's home run that was just off the very top of the yellow stripe. Chopper to third. Out number 2. Jones into second base. He singled up the middle to get aboard. Here comes Brad Miller.
Third time this season the Mariners have scored 10 or more runs here at Safeco. Did it back in April against Texas and in May against San Diego.
Now the Mariners got 3 runs early against Richards. That was in the second inning. They tacked on a run in the 5th and then a 6th spot in the 7th when they sent 11 men to the plate. First time for Miller inside the box in the last 2 days. Had a day off, then the neck spasms holding him out of the game yesterday, a late scratch. He's had a nice September so far, 9 hits in 8 games. He's behind 0-2. The next home run for Miller will tie a career high. He belted 10 home runs last year. He's sitting on 9 right now. Just out of the glove there of Bandy, the new catcher. Throws down to first base. Jones stranded, and we are off to the 9th inning.
Coming up on Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines, we will head into the man's office and hear from the skipper, Lloyd McClendon, after tonight's game. I imagine he's pretty happy with that guy, Seth Smith, and really his offense as a whole. Taijuan Walker was once again fantastic. We will update you on the wild card race, and we will also see how Jason Bay did on his keys to the game. It's all coming up on Mariners Postgame, presented by Delta, guys.
All right, Ange, looking forward to that as James Jones is in center field for O'Malley. As O'Malley, well, Mike, you were saying when we might see him at third base or on the infield, and well, now's the time. Rasmussen on to work things in the ninth. Facing Kyle Kubica.
For Rob, 15 appearances, 14 strikeouts, 12 in the third innings. Opponent's hitting .379 against him.
Quickly at 0-2.
We showed that picture of O'Malley at third. I think he has Kyle Seager's glove on. I do. I think he does. I think he has the gold patch on there from the Gold Glove Kyle won last year.
Doesn't John Hicks have a glove that he can borrow?
Probably. There it is.
There you go.
Take the Gold Glove out there with you.
That's the way to make your first appearance at third base with your new ball club. I guess for Hicks, when he made his major league debut at third base, he used Brad Miller's glove. When Dustin Ackley was in left field, if I'm getting this right, Mike, I think he used Jason Bay's glove.
I think you're right
Jason
about that.
Bays.
Yeah.
The opposite way. Romero, the squeeze for round number one.
Go back to the way that they used to do when they started playing this game. Just leave the glove on the field.
That's right. And Jason has confirmed that. Here is Jet Bandy in his first major league at bat. Mike Napoli is the only Angel in the history of the franchise to homer in his first big league at bat. You can see the numbers for Bandy with the Salt Lake Bees.
Had a good year hitting .291.
The only run that's come in tonight for the Angels came on a double play ball with Murphy at third base. And we mentioned it earlier, this Angels offense has really been a shell of what it was last season, especially since the All-Star break. Last in the American League in runs, the lowest on base percentage. And Mariners pitching has not helped the Angels numbers tonight. They have dominated Angels hitters more times than not. And it was Taijuan Walker to get things going. 7 innings, only 1 run. Rasmussen falls behind 3-1. Three balls and 2 strikes. Angels down to their final 2 outs. Off the hands, a little flare. Out number 2. Fly ball to left, now a fly ball to right. And here's Colin Cowgill to pinch it for Pujols, the final hope tonight for the Angels.
Really a tough couple of games for the Angels. We talked about the game last night, losing it late, Houston Street blowing the save, and then to really just get crushed here today with Garrett Richards on the mound.
Yeah.
You had to expect, knowing that you have Felix going tomorrow. So this is a tough time for the Angels right now.
And Tropiano going for the Angels, not a guy who's been a mainstay in the rotation by any means. You're right, back to back they were an inning away. They were actually a pitch away from sweeping the Astros. And this is an Angels team, keep in mind, that entering tonight 3 games in back of the Rangers for the second wild card. One and one. The Twins in front of the Angels, and then the Rangers holding the second wild card. The Yankees holding the top spot, with the Blue Jays leading the East. A flutter sign outside, 2 balls and a strike. A rough 48 hours for the Angels and Mike Scioscia. Dropping in for a base hit. Calgill keeps the game going. He is aboard with 2 outs. Here's Caleb Cowart. Switch hitter, pinch hitting in Murphy's spot. Now Felix tomorrow night will be looking for win number 18. And he will be 1 start closer to trying to knock down another 200 season. 200 innings, 200 strikeouts as Jones is able to patrol in, make the catch, and that'll do it tonight. The Mariners with like a very convincing 10-1 win.
A lot of offense from the Mariners tonight. Did a really good job of hitting with runners in scoring position. 6 for 13. I thought it was a great outing for Taijuan Walker. He ends up going 7 innings. Did not walk a batter. Had 7 strikeouts in this one. A lot of first pitch strikes and a good fastball, topping out at 98. That's
all you could ask for from Taijuan. He was fantastic, and a lot of offense. 3 runs in the second, a run in the 5th, and then a 6th spot in the Mariners' 7th inning when they send 11 batters to the plate, and they take game 1. A final score against the Angels, 10-1 behind a dozen hits. Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines starts right now with Brad and Jason. Guys, take it away.
Aaron, thank you. Enjoy that soft serve ice cream up there, my friend. It is a little chilly out here in the pen, but the Mariners, boy, swinging some hot bats. 12 hits, as Aaron said. 10 runs. They take game 1 by a score of 10-1. We will talk Taijuan Walker in a second. Jen Mueller getting an on-field interview. But for you right now, this one, as the guys were talking about, a huge blow to the Angels' playoff chances.
Massive. The guys in the booth talked about it. I mean, rough 48 hours for the Angels, blowing the, 1 strike away, blowing it, and then kind of being big time deflated today. That might have been the final nail in the coffin. We'll wait to see, but it's very, very tough game.
We'll have a check on the rest of the AL West and get you an updated standings in the wild card. The Angels, of course, falling farther behind in the West and in the wild card. You mentioned the tough 48 hours these guys had. So actually, while we wait to get our interview, let's go ahead and talk your first local forward keys to the game. And Taijuan Walker was fantastic. He got stronger as the game went on. He was almost seemed like unhittable here tonight.
A little bit, and like I said, he needed to bounce back. I couldn't think of a better way. Even the 1 run he gave up, first and third, he got a double play ball, got the 2 outs. I talked about, hey, watch, we're getting late in September. His innings are getting up there. He was 96 to 98 the entire night, overpowering the baseball, overpowering the Angels. I mean, there was no momentum. He was dominant from start to finish. And like I said, mid-September, innings getting up, and him come out and do that on a fairly chilly night. Very, very impressive.
Impressive night for Mr. Walker. He picks up the win tonight, improving to 11-8 on the year. There's a look at his season-long journey. Innings now at 169. The strikeout to ball ratio is really good. He's got 10 starts with no walks, including tonight. He's going to be pushed back a little bit his next start. They want to get him to about 180, maybe 185 innings. So a few more starts for Taijuan. It certainly seems to be finishing strong. It looks good, obviously, here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the proof is in the pudding there. He was, lights out, 98 miles an hour.
Right.
Here we are in September. I think you hit the innings limit, and you really look forward to him next year.
And maybe no limits next year, right?
That would be good, yeah.
Gloves are off for Mr. Walker next year, but a good outing again tonight. The Mariners take game one of the set. A big seventh inning. They bat around. Everybody seems to contribute. And how about this guy? They threw over about 15 times trying to keep him close to first. It doesn't matter. Cano double. He scores easily. One of the 10 runs the Mariners put up. Lots to get to on our postgame show. We'll go inside the clubhouse, get some reaction. Again, look ahead to Game 2 in Phoenix tomorrow night on Mariners Postgame, presented by Delta Airlines.